What's good, people? It's CJ Williams for Culturalist Theory. For this list, we will be ranking the 8 studio albums by St. Louis representative Nelly. This list will not include any EPs, group projects, or mixtapes, only solo albums. And yes, Nelly has mixtapes. However, before I get started, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you're digging the content, and tap that super thanks to keep the lights on. With all that being said, let's get to the list. Number 8, 5.0. Nelly's 6th album, released in 2010, is easily our least favorite out of his catalog. In the years leading up to this album, Nelly had lost some of his star power, his hold on the radio, and apparently the ability to write good records. Nelly's previous style of melodic hip-hop had begun to wear thin, and certain examples of this would be noticed throughout this project. For example, records like Making Movies and Move That Body are more cringe-worthy than catchy, especially Move That Body. Bro, what was that? We'll give Nelly an EI for effort, though, as the album boasted big-name features like Birdman, DJ Khaled, Akon, Plies, Chris Brown, and T.I., among others. However, none of them proceeded to save this project from being mediocre. Outside of the lead single, Just a Dream, and the third single, Gone with Kelly Rowland, there isn't much to be revisited here. Taking a listen to the album, you could tell that not much inspiration from Nelly had gone into this project, causing the album to fall completely flat. Number 7, M.O. Coming off the disappointing 5.0, Nelly attempted to redeem himself with his 7th album, M.O., released 3 years later. Down But Not Out, lead single Hey Portia, did okay on crossover radio, as well as the second single Get Like Me with Nicki Minaj and Pharrell. Pharrell would play a major part in this album, having produced 4 tracks, 5 if you count the deluxe version. However, some of the album was mixed with alternative sounding joints like All Around the World with Trey Songz and Walk Away featuring Florida Georgia Line. We're not mad at the experimentation, it's just if you came here for country grammar Nelly, those records may leave you disappointed. As for the positives, well, the record Rick James with T.I. and 100K with 2 Chainz were serviceable, yet they would not mask the flaws of this project, as a bundle of tracks on here might cause you to hit the skip button. This album would be a massive flop, only moving 15,000 copies in the first week and topping out at around 23K. So this would be an L for old Nelly Nell, and it would cause him to take a pause from making music entirely for 8 whole years. Number 6, Heartland. Remember what I was just saying about Nelly taking a break from making albums? Well, this will be the album he will return with in 2021. His most recent release was country-based and featured a variety of artists in that genre, including Darius Rucker, Tyler Hubbard, and Florida Georgia Line. After having found success on collabs with groups like the aforementioned Florida Georgia Line, Nelly was compelled to creative work like this. The lead single, Lil Bit, featuring FGL, is straight, as well as some cuts like Grits and Glamour with Kane Brown, 5 Drinks Ago, and Country Boy Do are also solid. Although this album has a slight identity crisis and Nelly's sound had previously faded away due to the disappointing projects that preceded this, Nelly had some success with this work. It peaked at number 45 on the Billboard 200 and seemed to prove Nelly could go outside the box at any moment if he needed to. Hey, if country rap is your thing, it actually ain't that bad. But that album cover? Like, we get it, but that hat is nasty. Before we get to the top 5, we know Nelly is the leader of the St. Lunatics with Murphy Lee, Ali, Keywan, and City Spud. Out of all of them, not named Nelly of course, which one would be your favorite member and why? What did you think about Murphy Lee and Ali's solo projects? We'll talk about that St. Lunatics album in a second, by the way. Leave us your answer in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe, we'd appreciate it. Alright, back to the list. Number 5, Brass Knuckles. Released in 2008, this work was a bright spot and probably his most underrated album. We say that because not only are there quality joints on here, but it would be his first album to not go platinum. There's a lot to like on here. For starters, the feature list is diverse. A-listers like Rick Ross, T.I., and Usher are balanced by OGs like LL Cool J, Chuck D, and Snoop Dogg. A majority of them would do well, as Hold Up with Tip and LL was nice, and the track Party People featuring Fergie was legit. Also, this album is notable for having the banger Stepped on My J's, as well as Body on Me featuring Akon and former girlfriend Ashanti. While Brass Knuckles was great in some areas, many critics described it as being somewhat generic and a far cry from the previous work Nelly had dropped. Plus, after about track 11, the album starts to lose steam pretty quickly. Nonetheless, it still managed to be certified gold and peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200, showing Nelly could still move the needle even with his status dipping a tad. Number 4, Sweat. One half of a concept album called Sweatsuit The Sweat side featured more upbeat, energetic tracks, while Suit was more grown and sexy. More on that in a moment. Singles Flap Your Wings and Tilt Your Head Back were bangers, as well as some album cuts like American Dream with the St. Lunatics, Player with Mobb Deep and Missy Elliott, as well as the solo standout Spider-Man. For most of the concept albums that have emerged in this time frame, such as Cassidy's Split Personality and T.I.'s T.I. vs. T.I.P., this album would stand out more due to Nelly's unique style, making it easier to decipher between the two concepts. Several joints on this record could have gotten radio play in the mid-2000s easy. This album showed not only was Nelly comfortable experimenting, but he could do it with success, as Sweat would be certified platinum and lead into the next entry on this list. Number 3, Suit. The other half of the concept album would be Suit. While Sweat was more up-tempo, Suit was all about the vibes, specifically talking to the ladies. An example of this would be the first 5 tracks, as they are all centered around that theme, with Play It Off featuring Pharrell, My Place with Jaheim, and She Don't Know My Name with Snoop and Ronald Isley being highlights. Even when he's not explicitly talking to the ladies on here, Nelly is able to make the project interesting and seductive on records like And They Say and Wood Grain and Leather with The Hole. Notably, this was the album that put the country bug in his ear, with the Tim McGraw featured hit Over and Over. This album, just like Sweat, would top the Billboard 200 and move nearly 400,000 its first week, going 3 times platinum in the process. Before we get to the top 2 albums from Cornell Hayes Jr., BKA Nelly, earlier we alluded to the one and only official St. Lunatics album. Is it us, or was that Free City low-key fire? Where would you rank it in the Click albums like PSC, D12, or Terror Squad? Actually, that sounds like an episode to me. Hold on. Top 10 rap Click albums. We definitely got to do that. All right, where were we? Number 2, Country Grammar. What has to be described as one of the most historic debuts in hip-hop history, Nelly broke the doors down at a time when the South, East, and West had control of the game. He introduced millions to the Midwest, St. Louis specifically, with Country Grammar Summertime 2000. Inking a deal with Universal Records in '99, Nelly had gained popularity with successful radio singles like Country Grammar, EI, and Ride With Me. Nelly stood out because his Bone Thug-influenced melodic style and stacked vocals would captivate hip-hop audiences nationwide. The radio joints are not the only ones that caught fire on this record, as other tracks like St. Louis, Steal the Show, For My with Lil Wayne, and Though Them Raps are all dope as well. The standout B-side record, however, would be the last track, Lovin' Me, with Nelly dedicating verses to important people in his life over a flip of One Way's Don't Ever Stop Loving Me. The first verse honoring his mom? And if that don't hit you in the chest, I don't know what will. This album would be extremely successful, as it would craft Nelly as a star in the making. Country Grammar would reach diamond status, being only the 9th album in rap history to accomplish that feat. However, while this album in particular would cause waves in hip-hop, this next one on the list would solidify his star status. Number 1, Nellyville. While Country Grammar would manage to make Nelly a household name, Nellyville would stamp him as a global superstar. The album would be a testament to Nelly, and to many would be considered, along with Country Grammar, as a classic. This album managed to bring major recognition to Nelly due to the strong singles Hot in Here, Air Force One's Dilemma in a duet with Kelly Rowland, and Pimp Juice. However, there is much more to the album than just those radio records. Songs like the title track, Oh Nelly, The Gank, and Number 1 were dope as well. Speaking of Number 1, remember that sparked a short-lived feud between Nelly and KRS-One? Easily one of the most random rap beefs in hip-hop history. Nelly's style would come into full effect on this record, and the sales and chart position would reflect. Nellyville peaked at the top of the Billboard charts with 715,000 copies sold the first week, and this project would be certified 6 times platinum. Nelly demonstrated that there is no sophomore slump in his catalog, and instead will be replaced with sophomore success. The significance of this album are determining factors of that. The world saw how Nelly put on for the St. Lou, but we want to know from you, what artists from the Midwest would you like to see us rank next? Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and check out more videos like this. Until the next time, I'm CJ Williams for Culturalist Theory. I'm out.